How's it going, everyone? Thanks for joining us. We are Quaternity of Tice, and this is Tavern Talks. This is where we are going to go over the previous session and talk a little bit about how we're feeling about the session, maybe give some goals that happened during it, or talk about what we think is going to happen with the next session. This is not a recap. Our recaps will come at the beginning of each subsequent session. This is more just for talking about everything. Um, as this is only our first episode of this, and only the second video total, let's go back over who we all are. Just get everyone to know us a little more. So I am Chris Malarkey, and I am the Game Master or GM for this game. Next, alphabetical order, go ahead. Over to you, Abby.
I'm Abby Malarkey.
I am Jalen Perez. Just call me Jay, and I'll be playing as Orion.
And I am Brett Andrewskavich. I am playing as Zavi Advani.
Perfect. So with that said, again, this is not going to be a recap of the session, but I will touch on just the one thing that characters this week, in this very beginning of the session, the whole entire beginning of the campaign, for that matter. The characters went through kind of a ringer. You guys got booted from your livelihood, basically, your job, your living, place. Like this has been a big deal, and that's session one of the campaign. So that brings me to a very big question that I want to know out of all of you. And go over this one at a time, obviously. But given what's happened, how are the characters feeling? What's going through their minds? You guys have left the beginning city, Aldenair, and you've actually gone like 4 days. So you've had time to think on the boat, but it seemed like each of you kept yourselves busy to kind of keep off of that. But I'm sure you weren't able to stave off the internal thoughts the entire time. And I didn't give enough time because I wanted to push the session to make sure we weren't taking forever. But I should have asked you guys how you're feeling then, but let's talk about it now. Abby, how is Kaya?
Kaya's easy breezy right now. She's kind of used to just moving around. She's only been with the circus for about a year. This is not necessarily the first time she's dealt with something where she could potentially have gotten in trouble and is kind of trying to lay low, although it's a little hard because she stands out a lot. But, I mean, she's pretty pumped. She got to fire the ballistas eventually on the ship.
Eventually.
And, I'm pretty sure the only reason that he granted us safe passage is because he kind of liked her, so she's pretty happy.
I mean, yeah, he likes you guys a little bit now. You all helped in some way, so he likes you guys. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Kaya's only been in this a year, and she's, she's silly-ish, but she's resilient as well. So you said she's just feeling easy breeze, which, I mean, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Anything else to add about how she's feeling?
She's probably a little concerned about Orion. Since Orion was there the whole entire, his whole entire life. She's a little concerned about him. She'll be watching over him a little extra carefully lately.
Okay. And going in alphabetical order, Brent, how is Zavi feeling right now?
Well, this wouldn't have been the first time that Zavi was in trouble. He does some things that are less than well liked wherever they go. So he's been arrested before, and so this was just the most serious incident where it could have been some very, very big trouble for him, possibly even being killed for it.
Mm-hmm.
So he understands the gravity of the situation, but he's still trying to wrap his head around what just happened. and trying to find out how to clear his name and get back at the people who try to basically kill him.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, that's a good thought. They would have killed you, for sure. They would have put you to death for the death of a young child and irresponsibility of magic items. But yeah, sorry.
And yeah, so he's more looking at things in a vengeful kind of way at this point. The circus hasn't been his whole life. He knows that he's skilled at other things, so this could have happened at any time. But like, there's just something rubbed in the wrong way. So we're gonna see how his demeanor kind of changes, or if he keeps the same way as a means of getting through tough times.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jay, I'm most curious. Not that I'm not curious about you two, but Jay, I'm most curious personally about Orion. As Abby said, Orion's been in the circus his entire life. This is all he really knows. I mean, his dad is there too. So, given the situation, how is Orion feeling? How is he? Is he, upset? What's going on with him?
2 words, Chris. Shell shocked. At this point, it's where he spent his entire life around the circus. His entire world revolved around that. Not only going through most of his life, it's what he's only known for most of his life. Considering that his parents met thanks to the circus, and at that point, his circus became to point his entire family, where he spent day after day traveling with them, learning new customs, learning new things, and it's at this point his entire world has just been shattered. Completely shattered to the fact that someone in the circus would do this, but the worst part is it's the ringmaster. The ringmaster who he trusted, who was the head of the family for the entire circus, that could even communicate with his father on that part, was orchestrating this entire thing. And the worst part is that he didn't take this seriously. It's where he actually had true faith that this was just either a joke done by Kaya or Zavi, or something that they were just going along, considering his entire life he's always showed loyalty and trust to the fellow people that was technically his family. Then not only his biological family, but the entire circus was his family life.
Yeah.
So at this point, he's feeling shell shocked.
You actually raised a good point. It was pretty evident that seems like some sort of prank that Zavi or specifically Kaya would pull. Like it definitely does seem like a prank they would have pulled. And so what was it that kind of cemented in Orion's mind, like, oh shit, this is actually happening. This is a thing. Like, we're getting blamed. When did that really sink in?
That really sinked in when his father got involved. Because this is the one man that taught him how to fight, how to be prepared, how to take things as serious, considering Orion's father taught him how to be prepared for the world in case the worst outcome comes. And the fact that he told them that to get out of the circus and there's things that he doesn't know proved the point that Zavi and Kaya were absolutely right, to where it's at the point that Orion didn't fully discard the thought of something was going on. It's why the fact that he went with Zavi and Kaya, but at that point he knows he can trust them. So the fact that his dad told him to go with both of them and told him where to go in case we go to Soriko and there is a contact means the world that his dad is telling him to get out. It is a life or death situation, and this is your out. He threw him a life raft life raft, and his friends are there to help him. To which now he is he's fully in trust with Zavi and Kyle because he knows they're watching his back and they wouldn't do anything to hurt him. So right now he's just trying to work through his emotions from the fact that his world is shattered, but now he knows that they were framed. And why would it be framed? And what does this have to go to? Why does his father didn't attack the ringmaster? What is really going on? He wants to find not only truth but justice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. And I'm pretty sure it's you guys are all thinking it and all questioning it, but I mean, you obviously will see the circus again. I'm going to give you that spoiler. They're not just going to let it go. So I will give you guys that, and viewers, I'll give you that too. But I'm really interested to see how the characters develop through the different things they're feeling. And it gives a really interesting dynamic with you guys. How that you all wanted to start in this circus. I love the idea immediately whenever you guys mentioned it, and I love more that you have 3 different examples of timeline: 1 year, 10 years, whole life. It's a huge gap in between, and it's able to give you guys a very unique lens for each person. If 2 of you that were there for your entire lives and one was only there for 1 year, that's 2 of you would feel somewhat similar. But this gives you guys a really, really unique lens, and I'm just curious to see how it's gonna play out as time goes on. Um, Moving on, Jay, what was the question that you had? We were talking about it before. What was the thing you were mentioning?
It's how does he feel about his relationships to other people at this point? Will Orion be distrustworthy or trustworthy to people he just met? And the thing is, I think he is going to be guarded in the future, but at this point, it's where he's going to be cautious. And this is where he's going to rely on his friends, Kaya, who not only is a traveling minstrel, but has seen the world on his perspective where he also has, but she is much more in tune with it. Well, Zavi is the street morse that he knows for the fact that, yes, he's seen Zavi get arrested or has caused trouble, but he always knows that Zavi, in the end, is his best friend that is always trying to do the right thing at the right time. So at this point, it's where he's leaning on both of them. He might be the muscle, but in this category of willpower, I would say he is at the lowest as he can be right now.
Mm-hmm. Given that some very interesting information was revealed about each of you 3, each of you had something pretty weird pop up. You find out that Kaya knows that someone's coming to visit them, or you guys. You find out that Zavi wants to avoid an entire continent, and you find out that Orion has some sort of contact person that his dad knows or is telling him to go see in a city not too far from you guys. It's kind of obvious that you guys all didn't know that about each other beforehand. So I'm curious now, what's each person's like? How are each of you feeling about each other at this point? Are each of you like, ooh, I'm curious, or go ahead, Brett.
I was gonna say, first thing, Zavi is not avoiding the continent. He's just in no rush to go back.
I got you. My mistake.
If we need to go there, I mean, I'll deal with whatever. But it's kind of like when you know someone and you're like, okay, I'll go visit them, but you're not in any real rush to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of one of those things where you're friends with them or you're close with them, whatever. But I'll get to it when I get to it.
Okay.
It's just one of those, like, I'll be good.
So, given that,
Let's just go here.
we'll start back again with you, Abby. How's Kaya feeling about the other two learning this information?
Well, Orion, it didn't really change anything for Kaya because it definitely seemed like Orion was learning the information as Kaya and Zavi were learning it. He seemed just as surprised that his dad was like, hey, if you go to the Oasis, look for Bruna. He was just as surprised as everybody else. When Zavi was like, no, I don't want to go, I'd rather not go to Terra Anta. That was a little like, I know you don't like your family very much, but like, okay. I'm not going to force you when you don't want to.
I just don't talk about them, that's all.
Everybody's got family issues.
That's true. That's true. All right, Brent. How is Zavi feeling about the other two with the information he learned about those two?
Not really all that surprised. I mean, still learning about Kaya. There's definitely going to be different things there because, well, she's still new. She's been around for about a year, and I mean, when somebody new joins in to a large group like our circus that we had, you don't learn someone and meet them and learn all about them right away. It takes time, so learning that she has a contact and just or somebody that's gonna meet up. Was it someone who's gonna meet up with us, right? Or
He was coming.
Yeah,
he was coming. That's what it was.
She was expecting someone. Is that what it was?
Yeah. I couldn't remember the right phrasing there, but yeah. I mean, I've stumbled upon and made friends with all sorts of people, so I'm open to whoever, whether they be pirates or clerics or like anybody. Like, who knows? As for Orion, I mean, not really shocked with that as well because I mean, I have contacts in an area. I don't know exactly who, like, your family knows. Because I'm not part of your family. So, when your dad said that he knows someone that we should reach out to, who knows? Maybe a long-lost cousin.
Okay.
But, as long as it's helpful, I don't see any reason why Zavi would care. Now, if we're walking into a trap, then he's got some questions. And a blade for somebody.
Alright, and finally, Jay, how is Orion feeling about the other two? Is it similar story as the other two? How's he got going on?
At this point, it's where he understands they both have their own lives. It's, as I said, he's seen Zavi get in trouble, and he's seen Kaya be mysterious and whimsical, so he kind of expects that. But it's where at this point, he's going to be cautious about what he does, or who he interacts with, and what is going to be in the future. Because at this point, he's going to keep at least an eye open for any trouble or potential danger. He knows he's going to trust Zavi because he's been his friend for over 10 years now, to where he's been with the circus. So if Zavi doesn't feel comfortable about it, he's gonna understand that he probably has a good reason, whether it be something unscrupulous, or it's something stupid, or it's something that he just doesn't want to talk about. Orion will respect his wishes. Now Kaya, she is new. It's only been a year, but he knows that she is the definition of mischievous, but is still a good friend, considering she's been teaching him things about new languages and other things in the world, considering he is as I said, a warrior. He's much more familiar with the sword than the might of magic, to where he understands dexterity from a standpoint from what Zawi does, but Kaya kind of helps him out in the understanding of there is magic in this world, and sometimes it's something that is either beautiful, chaotic, or just out there. And he believes Kaya is the perfect representation of that in some moments where it's gonna come in handy no matter what. So the fact that have someone in your back that can understand that and do that stuff, he does give in to the trust that he knows he can rely on Kaya. Especially now on this moment that he finds him in. These two people kept on telling him that it is time to get out of the circus.
Yeah, perfect. This is this is all really good information for you to know. This is notes are being taken. Um, One final thing that I have, but before I ask my final thing, do any of you guys have anything to add to each other or questions for me?
The only thing that I was just thinking about here is we're talking a lot about the game and how our characters feel, but one little thing that we can just mention is how comfortable are we feeling with Pathfinder? I mean, we're all D&D players for the
Yeah.
most part. It's just something that I think that I mean, I'm getting used to it. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely got its different variations, and I'm finding it real fun.
What about you two?
Like it. I like it a lot. Um, I have made a couple of different characters, and I just feel like with Pathfinder, I have way more opportunities to make quirky characters than whenever I play D&D. And I love my spell listing, and I like the mechanics so far that we've had to deal with. I just think it's a really intricate game, and I think it helps roleplay a lot more than D&D does anyway.
Jay?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna be honest. Considering coming from D&D's perspective, I'm surprised Pathfinder is not talked about more because it just seems like yes, D&D does have that set of rules, especially with how they revamped everything from 3E to 4E to 5E with certain character and classes. But when you get to Pathfinder and considering how they built their world and how it expands on it, considering there's different characters and classes with what they can do, especially like with what Pathfinder has, they have the Witch, which is basically the D&D version, which is D&D is the Warlock, but with the Witch, there you can get into so many paths of what you want to do, considering instead of deals and everything else, they're called life lessons, and they can give you all these sorts of variable powers and everything else. So you're not just stuck with the basic three of the old one, the fiend, and I can't remember the other one, but people in the comment section are gonna say something, so I trust you on that part. But it's where at least with the witch, you can choose evil, you can choose neutral, you can choose good, because there are celestial angels that will give you that kind of power to where there's also nature forces of nature going into that. And then there are things about the fighter that personally I like the fact that they actually have some kind of abilities that kind of are magical within them to the point where you gain that ability later down the line. Then there's the fact of what the clerics can do. Then there is what other classes they also have, which is the guardian and everything else. They allow you to get a little bit more crazier with the customization, especially with when you learn how many different races and how many variables you can customize for the type of character that you can build. Heck, the fact that for my character, his ancestry is human, but if you go look at the background, it's or rather heritage, sorry, is Dromar. This is giving me a setup for I can build an actual half orc, or I can actually build different races that have that different traits and abilities that I can build. Oh, I can build the ultimate barbarian. I can build the ultimate cleric. I can build all these things with races that D&D doesn't even have, or doesn't even have full stats for, where Pathfinder allows you to get customization options. I just I just wanted to see a couple more worlds be brought to life by this playing game set. I can't wait to find that out, considering this is homebrewed. This is a homebrew world. This means you can technically set up the things that you want, and considering the amount of monsters that as I said, this is the beginning as a D&D player playing Pathfinder. There are so many more monsters with so many different abilities.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of being the DM, you're gonna like it. You like it.
I'll give my perspective, and I could probably talk for hours on this, but I will give my quick perspective on this. I started playing in 3rd edition D&D, and only for about 2-3 months, and then I switched over to 3.5, we just released. And so anyone who knows this, 3.5 D&D, people loved it, absolutely adored it. It was great, it was a perfect system. And then when 4th edition came out of D&D, it's not as light. And so a few designers for 2nd and 3.5 edition got together and formed their own gaming company, and it became Paizo. And they made Pathfinder. The 1st edition of Pathfinder is just a one-for-one basic copy of 3.5 D&D. And so 2nd edition Pathfinder, which we're playing now, does have some different rule sets, does make some changes here and there, but at its core, it's very similar. And so, from my perspective of what I started with, this is home. This feels like home for me. My longest period of time as a straight player was 3.5. In fact, I think I only DM'd 3.5 once or twice before switching to 4th edition when it came out. So this is good to me. 5th edition D&D is great. It's a good system, but it's not as gamey as I'd like it to be. It's not as crunchy as I would like it to be. And this is what I like. I like rules. I like knowing, oh, there's a question from a player. I can look it up real quick. I know there's an answer. Sometimes in other systems, I'm not just going to call out D&D specifically, but sometimes other systems, it's left up to the GM fiat, where I have to make a decision because there's no rule for it. This is great because in this book there are rules for everything, and I love it. I love researching. I just read these books on my free time just because, and so I'm happy playing this system. I DM'd or GM'd a couple different systems, maybe 6 different systems. I've played 8 different systems. This is my favorite so far. I am in love with this. Paizo, you guys are awesome. So that's my perspective. And you all 3 know my feelings on 4th edition, and you notice how I only talk about it for 5 seconds. That's a new record for me. These guys know that I'm not a big fan of 4th edition stuff. Except for one thing. There's one thing in 4th edition that's great, and that is the Warlord class that doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, so that was a great question, Brent. That was perfect. I have one kind of question that should be easy to answer, and you guys you might not have an answer at this point, and it's totally fine if you don't. But the question I have is, we just started a brand new campaign. Is there anything in this campaign that you're looking for? Anything you want to do specifically? A type of fight, a type of monster, a type of encounter, or social setting, a place you want to go? Like, what's something that you're looking for that this is just a note for me to add in that I can try to make sure it happens? Abby, anything for you?
I want to go to like a fancy ball, like masquerade ball, or just a fancy ball, fancy dress party. And I don't know if I necessarily want to fight it, but I want to have an encounter with a Lenorm.
Okay. The norms are terrifying. If you guys don't know what that is, look them up. Or watch one of my videos later, because I'll have a series talking about Pathfinder lore. Brent, anything for you specifically?
I just want to be able to try some of the mechanics that involve the use of my tail.
Okay.
The fact that I have a prehensile tail and can use that, I want to see how that can be used in combat and non-combat scenarios. Just something interesting that I've never had a chance to use before, so it's going to
Yeah.
be exciting.
Okay. And finally, Jay, anything you
And I have a cat.
Easy. Weird, awkward moments. I'm just like so in any like type of campaign, D&D, Pathfinder, even for other tabletop RPGs. There's always those awkward moments where your character finds himself in the end. It's like you're wondering, what would my character do? What would I even do in this situation? It's where it's even out of those awkward moments, you kind of find that pause, like, all right, there are real moments in this kind of life where you're just like dumbfounded. You have no idea what you want to do. I find that's where you kind of find what your characters would actually do, and kind of reveals a new side of your character, saying that, oh, I never knew that about this character, that they like to do this kind of hobby, or they actually know somebody like this, or who knows, it might be something they get interested in. It's one of those weird moments in life that makes you really pause, like, huh, that's pretty cool, even though it's just something totally out of this world.
before we wrap up, I'll give you one thing I'm looking for. I'm hoping happens. I'm not gonna make it happen, but I'm hoping. Um, so obviously, from the beginning of our session, it's somewhat lighthearted. It's not super serious or dark. You know, you guys had a lot of fun. Just was some funny moments and whatnot. But I think what I'm looking forward to is seeing real emotion. I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a moment where something happens and the characters have to have big feelings about it. You know, maybe a character almost faces death, or um, has something happen to them that significantly changes who they are. Some sort of travesty, like a loss of a limb or something, or just something that happens to characters that makes some kind of big moment, that makes or breaks the character. That's what I'm looking for. Hopefully. Um, let's see. But with that said, I don't have any other questions, and I don't know if you guys do either. But we'll keep this short. We'll keep this one shortish. So, to everyone out there, this is Tavern Talks, and this was just an example of what the sessions, what these little videos are going to look like. However, also keep in mind that it's not always going to be all of us here. Sometimes on these table talks, it'll be just two of us or three. Sometimes I won't be here. Sometimes, it doesn't matter. I talked a lot today specifically because I had questions for them as the GM, and I took notes on all of them. But the tone or questions asked might be a different setup, just depending on who's doing it. So don't expect this same setup every single time. This was just the very first one. You can always expect these to come online 2 days after our session itself. So we'll have our session, and 2 days later we'll talk about it a little bit. But with that said, I think we can go ahead and wrap this video up. Expect more to come on these videos in the future, and we are so happy you guys are joining us. And we can't wait to see how the campaign unfolds and see how the characters grow and change and the story changes as well. With that said, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Absolutely.
All those in internet land.